this is much easier to do, and I think that's what I recommend to people searching for a job on LinkedIn, is to actually know what the job requires and evaluate how do they fit in that job. And usually when you apply for a job with a premium account, you actually know what are the skills required for the job and what are the skills missing from your profile. So then you can actually see. Of course, I'm not recommending that people lie or use fake information, because it doesn't make any sense. But sometimes when you focus on a certain profile or a certain job, you're missing other things that you have in your own experience that you may have left aside. So that's why every single job is a project. You know, every job you apply for is a project. You have to take it from the beginning, look at the job description, see what they're looking for. First of all, evaluate whether that's a real job for you, or not just apply, you know, to anything. Because there's nothing more annoying to a recruiter than when people apply and they have absolutely nothing to do with the job that they're applying for. But once you saw there was a match, then to actually see what is it that the job requires and what is it that I can bring, and then, you know, grow your profile accordingly and focus on certain experiences that are related to the job, and not just leave out what's important in the job, but keep talking about yourself in a very rigid way, you know. It's something that I keep seeing with candidates, unfortunately, in particular with not very experienced candidates. So when we run a search in the background on LinkedIn, we tend to put a lot of keywords, we tend to put a lot of criteria, and then we tend to select as little as possible, you know, because of course it's very difficult to go through a huge amount of profiles, and even when people apply, it's the same thing, it's the same exercise, because you need to reduce the number of applications that you receive. And the closer you are to the job, the more chances you have to be contacted. On top of that, on LinkedIn, there is already a functionality that rates the candidates according to their fit to the job. So they give you like a certain percentage of skills that are suitable. And obviously, if you have on the other side, if you have a premium account as a candidate, you can actually see how you fit into that job. And sometimes you get I don't know, you're among the top 50% or top 10% or whatever. That gives you already an indication that your hit rate of match is quite there. If it's low, then, you know. That said, I don't think that this functionality is really well developed, because I've seen lots of candidates who were rated very low who actually fit exactly the profile of the job that I was looking for, and conversely, I've seen candidates who weren't actually a fit. So, but it's one of those tools that already gives you an indication of how to. But what's hugely important, and this is not my idea, I've actually seen it on a LinkedIn professionals article. She was mentioning that the most important part in an application, or whatever companies are looking for in a candidate, are solving a pain, with what she calls a pain letter. For example, when you do a cover letter, or when you present yourself on LinkedIn, you should be the person who solves a problem. You should have in your profile something that will appeal to recruiters, because you will be a solution to their problems, right? So when you apply, or when you position yourself on LinkedIn, you have to say, I am the person who will come to your company, who already identify the problem that you have through the job description, or by knowing the industry, or by knowing your company. And now this is the solution I can bring, because I have done this and this and this in the past. So when I see somebody who's really understood what my company is all about, and who's really done a lot of research about, you know, the industry and where we're going and the projects that we have, and, you know, immediately thought about how they could contribute, then this is the perfect candidate. So obviously it's a tool that you can use, but you also have to do a lot of work behind the scenes to get there. So I really like this concept of a pain letter, or a problem solver, because this is what we're looking for, right? When we're looking for when we have a job opening, we're looking for somebody who's going to come and sort that problem out. And there's always a problem, right? Or more. So it's something that students, in principle, don't necessarily know, because they don't have the experience yet. But it's not too difficult to understand from the job description. because when you see the requirements, that tell you a story of what they're looking for. Sometimes it's even mentioned, somebody who works well under pressure. Well, it tells you that the problem that they probably have is that there is a lot of work, that there is a lot of, there's a lot of stress. Maybe it's a consulting industry. In that case, the person should have certain skills, right? Yeah. So you have to read not only the job description, but also between the lines, what is it that they're actually looking for. And by doing some research, eventually you realize and of course, if you are the right person, if you're not the right person, then you can do whatever you want with your profile. It's not going to work out. So might as well not waste your time. But yeah, it's one of the things that I feel are hugely important.
So one is it's very important to point this thing out, because many people, when they see the profile of a person saying HR or headhunter or talent acquisition, they just instantly think, okay, let's just send a resume, and maybe less than 100 recruiters a resume, maybe one will help out, and sometimes it would work, but it's not good. I mean, it's not professional per se. It doesn't give a good impression of a person itself. So it's very good to point out to people as well, that don't do this. Be objective, have an objective in your mind, and approach them properly. With an objective in your mind, basically why you're looking for something, and go do that.
Actually, it's interesting that you say that, and it's quite important, because there are two things. One is, yes, it's important to approach people in the right way and to send your resume to the right job, etc. The other thing that you need to see is also how you approach recruitment agencies, for instance, and who do you approach in HR. Many people confuse human resources with the person who's going to hire you. Yes. And for example, as an HR director, I would not normally be the right person to approach for a job. The most important thing to do is either you get in touch with the recruiters, or you get in touch with the actual functional head of the department that you're heading towards. Because there are two things here. One is that the human resources professionals do not necessarily get involved in recruitment. I do, because I have a passion for it and because it's one of my strengths, so I want to do it. But it's not necessarily a given. Two, because as HR professionals and people who don't necessarily come from the business itself, we don't have the technical capability all the time to understand the demands of that role. And sometimes we can give profiles that are not necessarily the right ones, or we don't necessarily fully understand what the hiring manager is looking for. Most of the time it's working, but nobody is better than a hiring manager to tell you, and it doesn't mean that you have to approach them and say, this is me, this is my CV, but also to get more information about the job, or to position yourself as a potential candidate, because you can say, I noticed that there is a job opportunity posted. I'm assuming you're the person hiring for it, and I guess that this is your problem. And guess what? I am the person who's gonna solve your problem.
Because
and why don't you particularly apply? Lots of companies have already ATS, applicant tracking systems, and software for recruitment. So we want to have all our candidates in one place. We want to have a talent pipeline. That's why we actually buy these systems. So when a candidate approaches me on LinkedIn and tells me, please review my profile, and doesn't say anything else, there's nothing more annoying. And even if they fit, I have to answer them, telling them, please, can you go through the regular channel and send your resume. I want to analyze your resume in that context, and you will be in the system. Otherwise, they are trying to make me work to add their profile in the system and then follow up on them. So do what it says on the tin. If they ask you to apply on the company website, then apply on the company website, and then approach me on LinkedIn. That is good. Then you can tell me, I already applied. Maybe you might have missed my profile, but I suggest that you actually look at it because of these reasons, and give me some reasons, why I would want to go.
That's a very excellent point, because an HR director is telling us that, okay, apply it through the online channels and then approach it. That's perfectly fine if you approach it, but at least go through the proper channels first and then come to us. That's so good. It's really helpful, I think.
At least it's my opinion. I mean, of course, different companies have different ways of recruiting, but there is this myth that once you send your application to the company website, it's falling into that black hole where CVs go to die. It's not necessarily true. It is in a way, it makes no way sense, because obviously if people send CVs mindlessly to any job, then I end up with 10,000 candidates and probably only 5 of them are actually suitable for the position. It's one of the risks. But because a lot of the new software for recruitment is really well done and focuses on certain keywords and facilitates the research, the search, chances are that your resume is going to be selected, and probably it was already selected, you know. So now if you, on top of that, you come and you show me that you're interested in starting a discussion with me, then why not? I will actually look at it, and I welcome it when I see that on LinkedIn.
Very good.